Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Pieces That Pat Paints. I am Pat. We paint pieces. That's what we do. If you're new to the show, we paint miniatures. Is what we're actually doing. We're going to talk about what kind of pieces. Currently, we're working on this guy. He's a pretty neat little fella. He belongs to a army of little guys, kind of like him. There's more of them down there. And they're called Tyranids, and they belong to a game called Warhammer 40k, which is an interesting little game. So it's fun. But we paint all sorts of different stuff. This is just one thing we're currently working on. We've been working a lot on this army lately, which is tedious. So it'll be nice when it's all said and done. Until then, we're just gonna keep plugging away at the different units, so you guys can see them. I paint all the other ones kind of off camera, but I like to. I'm getting a feel for how the streaming on YouTube and things work, and so it's been fun to kind of have the repetition to be able to kind of look back and see, okay, well, how am I improving? Am I staying more in frame? Am I getting the cameras to be a little bit better set up? Am I having, a better product? So I'm glad for everybody who's been around with us on this fun journey, and it's been a lot of fun. Today we are going to try and finish this guy up. He is a barb gaunt, is what they call them, because they have a biocannon that shoots a living barb out of there, a little funky thing on the tip. Anyway, strange alien things. So yesterday we were working on this road bit, and we had put a little bit of this milliput down here, and it is hardened very hard. Now this cork kind of started coming up a little bit. I pulled it a little bit, and it definitely was going to come up. So I started working a little bit on gluing it already, and it's done a pretty great job. I'm going to show you how we did that, and then we're going to let it set up for a little bit longer, because we need one more layer of this glue to really help us get this done the way we want to. So the way I did this is I took a little bit of my very watered down glue here. This glue is super watery. I'll get my paintball out of the way. I save extra paint. I have this giant ball of I roll it around on my wet palette and I pick up the paint colors for fun. And I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. Eventually, one day maybe it'll get big, and I'll take it and put it on the bandsaw or something, and we'll saw it. We'll saw it in half. Take a look at it. That'd be a fun video. I have to get my little bandsaw working again, but that's not hard. The bands just sometimes they come loose. And you gotta tighten them back up. You put them back in there and tighten them up. It's kind of more a pain in the butt. And one of the things I love about this cork board is that it likes to soak this up. So we've gotten a lot. It's already soaked up a lot from my first round of doing this. But it will soak. It'll soak all this up. We're gonna let it kind of do that. I am gonna try to clear out these holes right here, because that's where our leg goes. We don't necessarily need glue in that yet. I might just have to blow those out. There we go. So we're going to let that kind of set up for just a second. It'll soak it in. You can already see it's kind of working. And as it soaks down, it's also kind of going to give that, the cork a little bit better resiliency. And it is, over time, really helped get that cork to stick down in any of the places it was coming up. because it was kind of coming up a little bit in the middle and a little bit on these edges. And it's so cool. I kind of find it amusing. And that first time I had to clamp it down. And I'll show you how I did that. These clamps are great little clamps. And the glue doesn't really stick to them. And you want to wait till it's started to soak down in there like it is now. And if you just set your clamps like so, you can get a nice coverage. And these are really great clamps that my grandfather had. They're called Babco is the name of the brand name. And this last one, because the middle was sticking up, I had set like this. And so you can see it's still sticky. It's still doing it a little bit. You see where it pushed a little bit of that glue up out of there. I don't know if you can actually see that on the camera. Maybe you can. I can't look at the camera and do it at the same time. Anyway, I set that down in the middle. I'm taking these two smaller clamps here, getting them to get these sides to clamp down. Which now it looks like the only thing I really got to worry about is that middle. So we're going to leave that alone because that's down. It's not coming up. So I'm glad we did that. We'll let it sit for a little while. It only takes a few minutes for that stuff to dry. So while we do that, we'll get ourselves set up to paint the stripe in the middle because we're going to want to do that. I think I'm going to do like the lane stripes for this. Our big guy had the left side stripe, and it was neat. I liked it, but I think we'll do the road, like the lane stripes on this, guys. Also, before we get started on that, let's go ahead and look at our contenders for the vote. If you haven't voted, do that. Go and vote. I mean, you can do that after you see these. I'll close in the poll tonight at 10 o'clock my time, which is Central U.S. Standard Time. So go ahead and vote. I really appreciate everybody who did. That's super cool. I love the participation of this kind of thing. Is some of the parts I like about how I want to do this, and about social media in general. The participation part of it is really cool. So currently in the lead is this guy. This is our U T. He's a snake boy, and he's fun. I fixed his face. His face was all mangled. So I fixed him up. I gave him a little cosmetic surgery, which doesn't look too bad. We'll call him Hiss. You're never around when I need you, Hiss. Is that Robin Hood from the Disney Robin Hood? Anyway, now this guy is in second place right now. He's currently in second. This is our friend Illuminar Zaris. I did a little bit of a test coat to see if this metal I bought I liked, and I did. So we'll be working on this guy eventually. Whether you guys vote on it now or vote on it later, eventually I think he'll end up winning. And if not, eventually we have to paint my son's Necron army. So eventually we'll be painting Necrons. Which, so one way or another you're going to get subjected to that, unfortunately. And then we have not with any votes yet is a little Kinku wizard. He's a fun little guy. He's got a little imp's face on his staff there, like a bird man. And then this is an Adeptus Sororitas model. It's really fun. She's a neat kind of like, she's a canoness, which is like a head nun. Anyway, so those are all really neat. So if you haven't voted, go over there, vote, come back, or wait till after the show, go vote, whatever. Yeah, I don't stress those sort of things. Anyway, let's see how I'm doing over here. Yeah, gotta move that stuff now. Let that stuff dry out just a little bit. Guess I think we're down pretty good, which is great. It won't affect our paint too much. Once it dries up, good time for the little bit of spray can. I love having air. It's it makes things a whole lot easier. Especially in a situation like that where we're trying to get the surfaces to dry up for us. So anyway, besides that, we've been using these guys lately, which are really neat. So we'll add some of these to it. Put that off to the side. Alright, so the first thing we want to do here is put a black on it. Now this is going to be, I'm going to use my funky brush for this because I'm not really, I want to be able to really get down in everything. So there we go. We'll get started on this. I'll place some Musoc. There we go. That's a lot better. All right. I like having this old trash brush. My kids really functified this guy up, and so rather than sacrificing him, I decided to go ahead and use him to be kind of my brush to really rub in things. I don't like doing that with my good brushes. So when my kids tore up this synthetic, which, you know, this isn't a cheap version of synthetics, but I had just bought a bunch of newer brushes, and it's like, ah, yeah, sure, you guys can have that one. And so I let them have it, and they sure did mess it up. And I was going through all their stuff where they're like, you can throw all this away. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna keep that guy. I think I know what I want to do with him. And this was a while back. This is. At that time, I was just getting back into the miniature painting, and you know, all my kids were like, "Oh yeah, we want to do all this stuff," and now they're not all that interested in all the different parts of it. My youngest boy is mostly interested in playing the game, and my middle boy loves the lore, and he loves the painting side of it, or well, the model building side of it. He seems to like. Painting is super intimidating, especially when you're painting with your dad or whatever. Again, it just gets intimidating because you're like, oh, he's so good, he's so much better than me. And as a father, you try to help him. Try to help him cope with those sort of things. Alright, now before I start putting fingerprints all this, I'm gonna grab some gloves. I really starting to kind of like the gloves. They've been fun to have. There we go. That way I won't put fingerprints all over this base as we're trying to get it all set up. Alright, so that black's going to give us a nice base color for all that. Just want to make sure I'm getting nice and deep in all those cracks. You can see right here, it's kind of shining through. You don't really want that cork to come out and show. Now I guess I could have gone and taken this out to do it with a black primer, but nope, it doesn't really need a primer. A lot of times it'll just soak stuff up for you, and so does cork. And just, especially once you put all the oh, that watered down glue on there and stuff, it's usually pretty much ready. And it's a super watered down version of that Mars Black, just to try and maybe grab any extra holes we got left, especially around this base. I hate when I pick up my models and after I got done painting them and I look at the base and I'm like, ah, there's a little spot there. Drive me nuts. Okay. Alright, I got that dry for just a second. Clean this guy out while we're waiting. Always good to get to your brushes early. Get them cleaned out. That's what happened to this guy. See, they didn't get to it early, and they did get it cleaned out. Well, that and they were probably grinding it down into something. You know, kids, they do that sort of thing. So I'll put these guys up real quick. Or at least get them out of our way. I like out of our way. That's fine. I'll put them up later. Alright. Just a few more seconds to let that dry. Looks like we got not two nice concurrent views. That's good stuff. I like it. Still too wet to pull out our canned air. I'm kind of goofy with that thing. Probably came from too many years with video game systems. I'm always love having canned air around. Now I find all sorts of uses for it. I'm like, oh yeah, we can pull out the keyboards and we can just to have excuses to keep it around. Although I have a little compressor over here for my airbrush. Well, those compressors are, you know, they get loud. Okay, so now you can see how it looks a lot like a, yeah, it's like a road surface. It's got a texture to it. Instead of it just being flat black, like the plastic would be, it's got a texture. And then even on the sides, it'll have a different texture. And we'll go through and we'll paint all that stuff just as soon as we get it dried. We're also going to throw down, we'll end up throwing down some tapes and stuff like that to kind of help this look a certain way. I'm pretty close. Come on, come on. You can blow on it. You don't have air. I can't do that too often. I'll end up being out of breath. A problem with having a lung condition. Can't. I got a harmonica. I'm not gonna torture anybody with listening to it. So hey, Bill voted for the kinku. Yeah, all right. I love that. I love that little kinku. It's an old Reaper piece. It's really neat. Eventually, you know, we're gonna get. Well, I know we'll get around to all these pieces, but you know, it's just kind of. It's a fun way of working them through. And I like participation. I think that's the old dungeon master in me. I've always been the dungeon master. I've played before, and it's okay. I don't mind playing. I like playing. But I really get a lot more fun out of the participation side of things. Like even, like I can play golf. I love golf, but I don't like going out and playing golf by myself. Like it's weird to play without people for me. And so what we're using here, this is just a mix of titanium white and Payne's gray, right over the top of that black. And this is kind of gonna give us that blue concrete look that we've been using on a lot of stuff. We're going to do that. Go ahead and give us on the sides too. A lot of this is that cork And we can always, we're going to come back and put brown on top of some of that. And this lightened Payne's gray is going to work a lot better than black to show our brown up. So it's totally okay to get all this done. But again, you know, we want the darkest places to stay pretty dark. So we're going to leave that there, which is great. All right. Yeah, that's going to look just like some concrete, you know? Now, it looks more like concrete once you start dressing up the thing with like a road stripe. That'll really help it. And we're going to get there here in just a little bit. We got to let that dry. And I got to clean out this brush because, yeah. I'm trying to get focused on modeling all the good behaviors that you want to do when you're painting. Is one of the things when I taught culinary school, I was very cognizant of that, and do the things that you want them to do when they get out in the world to be professional. So it's kind of the same thing. That center spot's still having a little trouble drying out, and I kind of like, if you see, it kind of is still a little separated, which is just fine because it's been reinforced a lot with that glue that we were putting in earlier. And this is going to help us give that nice crack where the concrete's going to look open, like it's been eroding underneath the concrete, which is going to be great. Because we're getting ready to come in here with the brown, and we're going to paint all that in to look like it's opened up and exposed. Okay. Probably want to get my littlest guy out here. So this is our 5/0. And this is the raw umber. I'm going to start over here on these few, and then I'm going to come back. I might even do the sides. I'm really going to let this get some time to dry out for us. Right down in there in those little cracks. Ooh, a little high. Come down. And some of this we can fill in with a little bit of rock if we want. And some of it we can do a little bit of, and we got options. I got some small gravel kind of rocks and things. They look great. See that right there? Probably let that stay looking like mud. Gives that base and multiple tones. I don't mind dropping just flock on a base. You know, it can look really great, and especially for, yeah, if you're really trying to get an army on a table. A lot of times you don't really need to even flock it. Just give that base a paint job and go. One of the neat things about a lot of the bases that you can get on 3D printers is that the base is already with the print, so you don't have to worry about all these basing techniques that I've learned over the years. But I also think it's fun to be able to still show that stuff and let people, if they want to learn it, let them learn it. And not everything comes with, you know, not everything comes with bases. Sometimes you need to make your own base. To this day, still that way. Which is great. So I like that idea. I also like the custom ones, you know. I have a piece over here that, if we're still rolling later, I'll throw on and we'll start getting it finished up. I got one that's for Miss Kristen and one that's for my son Al, not my oldest, my youngest son. I got that backwards. I already did my oldest son's. His is done. And my middle boy, he painted his. He liked it. like I said, he likes kind of painting and stuff like that. He's mostly the writer, which is fun. I have a feeling that I'm gonna at least be in one of his books. Maybe hero and villain. You never know. A little bit of both. At least my personality type. That's what I keep telling him. I was like, you pull personality types from things you live with, you know, things you see. I do that a lot with my dungeon mastering. You know, and it's not always just like people I know. Sometimes it's like, you know, a celebrity or you know, personality from say a game or a movie, and just kind of employ that. What would the cost look like for a single commission piece? It depends on the piece. That's a great question, Crypto Miguel. I really appreciate that one. So it kind of depends on the piece. So there's different levels of what can be done. You know, to some people, something closer to this is acceptable. You know, and something where it's painted like this is going to cost you less than something where it's painted like this. And so where this is going to cost more, it's going to be better. And then, you know, basing is going to cost extra depending on if you want a better basing. And you know, all that stuff, it requires more hours, and the more hours it goes through, the more it costs. And then so if you were going to say you needed me to paint this squad of 5 of these guys up to this level with custom bases, that's probably going to run you most likely $100 if you have me buy the pieces. Like if I'm going to go buy these pieces and that's about where it's going to run you. Because I have to, the pieces themselves are going to cost half of that price, and then, you know, it's about, you know, my material costs plus time is going to be about the other half of the cost of those pieces. Now, if you're talking about you want me to find the pieces, or you find the pieces and you give them to me, then that's a bit of a different negotiation, and it would really depend on, again, it depends on the level. So like if you want things quick and you want things cheaper, it's going to cost you a lot less. So if you're looking, if this is all you want, then, you know, from that, instead of it being 100 or higher, it's going to be 100. It's going to be less than 100. You know, we're going to come down, because, you know, this is a lot easier. This is a whole lot less stuff put into it. It's a whole lot faster. And I mean, it's not, I mean, I'd finish up these little things that are undone, of course. But you can see this is just a quick 1-2 paint wash, done, gone. You know, and we're out the door. And very little frills. So that one's going to cost you a whole lot less. So it, you know, it depends. All commissions are very it's very up to what somebody wants, because the more customized you want it to be, the more expensive it's going to make it. You know, if you don't want the frills, you just want a 2-color job, just, you know, put purple on it, put yellow on it or white on it, and then call it. You know, I can do that with an airbrush in a day. I can get all that done. So it's going to cost you a lot less than, you know, where you're going to do this custom piece where you guys have seen me put hours and hours and hours and hours and hours into these. Now, whereas it just costs a lot more money. So, you know, and prices are always negotiable, and also it's there's just a lot that goes into pricing, and there is a negotiation there, because I definitely want to try and make sure that number one, I've got to make sure I'm covering my costs and I'm making my money, but I also want to make it to where, you know, people can afford it. So, you know, maybe somebody comes in with one idea and they're like, oh, I want to fly all the way up to the sun, and I'm like, oh, slow down, Kid Icarus. We got to bring that back a little bit. It's a lot like catering. When I was a chef, you know, we would say, okay, well, what is your dream? And then once we find out the dream, we'll talk about what the budget is. And then we'll see where those two things meet up. Because the dream and the budget don't always line up. And that's okay. But let's try to get those two things to line up as best as possible. So that's usually how I do it. The couple of commissions I do, I usually find out what they really want as the tops, and then I talk about how much that's going to cost, and then I provide, you know, options. Okay, well, from there, let's go down. Let's look at what it would cost to not have me do this part. Let's look at what it would cost to just have this part done without the base. So you do the basing, you know, if I've got 5 models like this with the custom basing and everything, you know, it's $20 a shot. So that's $100. Or with the basing, probably $25 a shot, really, honestly. So you're looking at $125. And then you take this off, now we're down to about $100. And so on and so forth. You know, you want me to just take the fade out and just do the regular purple and white with the wash. That's another, we're gonna knock another like $5 a piece off, and so on and so forth. And then, you know, the more of them that you're having me do, the larger projects, there's less and less that you're gonna end up paying per unit, because you'll get I'll make discounts for larger bulk orders and things like that if it's a larger amount. But a single piece, again, it depends also on like the size. So like, oh, this little guy here, this is the one I'm working on for Alistair. Again, with this one's got that printed base, you can see I don't have to do anything but paint it. And so like a piece like this, you know, I printed this, and it didn't cost me very much to print it. Although I can't actually sell this miniature to somebody because of copyrights and da-da-da-da-da. But if you bought this mini and you printed it, it would only cost you like 25 cents. Okay? Well, it's only going to cost, like, to paint it to where it looks like right now. Oh yeah, no worries. I like answering this. This is a great question, honestly. And this is the kind of stuff that it really is. It's better to answer this live. So like something like this guy here where we're printing this is going to cost, to paint it to this level, $15. It's like $10-15. He's not very detailed. There's not a lot of work done here. So like $10-15. And you want him to get all the way up to level, it's going to cost more and more and more money. So, you know, like it might cost you $20 by the time we're done getting really tricked out. You know, we want to put like tattoos and stuff like that on there. It could cost a lot more money. Now, something like this guy, this thing's huge. It's about the size of like a little Nerf football. So this thing's going to cost you a lot more money to paint than, say, the little guy. You know, and this one's not even done. I don't even have the bottom shell on him yet. And he's super cool. But like this dragon turtle, you're like, oh, paint this for me. Okay, well that's expensive, because you're talking about a lot of work. This is bigger than anything I've painted on the channel so far. So this is, you know, you're talking, you know, $100 just to paint it. So, you know, big differences. And then, you know, I think that should be expected. Honestly, I don't think you can go anywhere in the world and not expect to see some pricing when it, you know, as it scales up, it gets getting more expensive. That's a great question. I'm so glad you asked that, man. I really appreciate you. For those of you who don't know, Crypto McKell, big friend of the channel. He does a lot of the helping me kind of figure things out on the technical end of things, and he kind of helps me watch my back, make sure everything looks good. We're getting better and better all the time too. I really think that we've got this camera dialed in now. Alright, so yeah, it's starting to look a whole lot like what we wanted it to. Faux show. Alright. Now let's talk about this stripe. Of course, this is going to be hard to get this tape off with gloves on. See if I can do it with just my thumbnail. There we go. All right. Take that one off, I guess. Okay, so let's think about this. I like the idea of it coming right through the middle of that crack. And then we just paint on either side of it. And then we need to have the break for the line to be like right here. And then another one start right there. That looks slick. Alright, right about there. Try to get that thing as straight as possible. Now if you want, you can geek out real hard and you can pull out like this sort of thing and measure them and stuff like that. But yeah, when they're really when it's short like this, it doesn't show up as much as it would in, say, like a diorama. If you're going to try to do a full diorama or something, you really want to make sure you measure that out. But like something short like this, most people can't notice with the naked eye that it's wrong. Unless it's super wrong. So as long as you're pretty dang close, you'll be alright. The more wrong it is, the easier it is for people to spot. So just remember that part. You'll be okay. Most people are just so dang impressed you did it that they're like, oh wow, that looks great. Especially in the community, man, like the painting community, everybody knows how hard this is because we're all trying to do it. So you get to have that little bit of knowledge of it's okay. We know how hard you did it, and we were very proud of you because it was amazing. You're looking good, bro. Okay, so I use the straight edge of that tape and I'll do the same thing here. This one though, we want to kind of come on there. Boy, it loves that glove. Okay. That ought to do. That ought to do. Yeah, there we go. That's not too bad. This side probably needs to come down just a hair that way. There we go. Oop, get down there where everybody can see you. Is it raining? Holy moly, it is. Huh, I didn't know this was rain today. Maybe it wasn't. Okay, so now we got all that done. Take our titanium white and we just kind of want to Gently paint over this. Again, it's okay if we kind of like let it fade off in places. We definitely don't want to get down into the bottom of it. You know what I mean? We want this to look like it was painted. It needs to look like it was painted on, because in fact it was. in realm, in our little mini world, it was painted on there because some part of civilization of man came by and painted it. Now down there you can see where the scar started. Maybe we leave that a little bit. Leave that a little bit darker. Maybe we don't put the paint all the way in that. We definitely want to make it look scarred and chipped and stuff. But it needs to be definitely recognizable that it was at one time a lane stripe. Yeah. Alright. And from there, all we gotta do is take these off very carefully. Go. Gotta be very careful. Come back and fix any paint that we have to fix. We just don't want to separate too much of our cork from there if we can avoid it. Here we go. And so don't just rip this off. Don't just be careful. It will take a little bit of paint up. It's a little. It doesn't take as much up if you let it dry more. So like if we let this, and we done one step and then let it dry overnight or whatever, it would have worked out better. But yeah, whatever. It's more fun to just go so you guys can see it. So I can always fix the. I always fix the pavement. That's easy. I'm just going to slowly buff that out. Mix of our titanium white and our Payne's gray. Get it to the color we want, and boom, boom, boom. And with this coat, I'm really just going to go on this top. I'm not going to do this bottom section. That way I can leave it darker down there. Do just a little bit there to show where it's kind of eroded, the paint has. You can even do a little bit on that. A little bit of stippling if you want to fade it down a little bit. You can look at the below or chipped. Yeah, that will help you. So if you feel like your paint looked wrong, you can always fix that with just a little bit of. Or if you want to fade it down, if you wanted to make it look even longer since they've been out here to paint, you know. So, looking good so far. We get to finish up those little holes. I'm going to put our next color around in there. And then we're going to add our little weed piece. Weeds, like as in, you know, plants that grow outside, and not the other plant that grows outside. Okay. Oh, that was the wrong one. We want the burnt umber. This one. And this is a little bit more of that mud color. This is a little bit better mud color. Not quite as dark. It's going to help us pop out a little bit more. We might add a little bit of that in here too. Just to make it look like maybe that's kind of dirty. It's a little closer to the mud. It's not up here with the rest of it that's nice and clean. When rain hits things, it makes it dirty. And that's a great look. Looks like the road's about to collapse right there at any point. Okay, do the same thing. These spots around the edges. All right. Wow. Alright, so let's get him on there. And we'll figure out where we want to put our other bit. Probably right here to hide that peg. There's a little peg, you can see it right through the bottom there. So what we all can do is we can put something growing out of that. Make it look like, you know, we'll just hide that little peg, which is not bad, but you don't want it to be looking, everybody to look down in your hole and see your peg. This piece may be a little too big for that. We might need to cut this guy down just a touch, which is fine. Now I'm just going to use this as a little spot to cut it on. I want to make sure I got a couple of those little dandy pieces there. I don't know what they are. Sometimes you kind of got to pull a little of those stalks out of there to make it look right. Okay, now oop, come back here. And up we go. You can kind of position this. I don't want it to be right in front of it like that. Get out of the way. Got a little static clean going on there. But you can kind of move them around a little bit. Get them to stand a certain way. Now he's got a little... There we go. Looks super cool. Maybe we need another something right there. Maybe a rock. What do we got? What do we got? Let's put a little rack on there. And you can go and you can buy rocks. But like I collect rocks out of my driveway because I have gravel. So like you can always just go to a place that's got a little gravel, and you can go and get like a handful of gravel, like the smallest, finest gravel you can find. Old fishing holes and by rivers and lakes and stuff, and just grab a little handful of gravel, throw it in a bag, go throw it in an oven for like you put it on like 200 degrees and let it sit for like an hour, and then come back, and then you can use them. Might make your house smell a little funky at first, but it'll be alright. Alright, so yeah, I like the idea of that. Come here. Just a little dab of glue. I'm going to set that right in there. We're going to let that dry up. Oop. Get on there. Oh, if you got too much glue, clear that out and get it off there. When it dries, if it's got too much, it'll get lumpy. I've had that happen to me several times. There we go. Until however you want it. And we got a couple little things on the base. And you can add all sorts of little tiny things. You know, just whatever you have. You can buy skulls that you can put on there, print skulls. There's all sorts of cool other little things you can print. If you have a 3D printer. And there's things that they sell that you can buy too. Games Workshop. Okay. Well, with all that done, let's get... We're only a little over an hour. That's beautiful. Okay, so let's do this base, and we're going to call this guy finished. I always like to give the bottom a nice little finish. Get rid of any of the little blemishes that came along with getting that base done, because there were definitely going to be some of those. There always are. Yeah, I like that question. That's a good one. I'm really hoping we're going to get to see some more commissions come through. I considered getting a Patreon going and having discount codes for for that too. But I'm still trying to figure out a lot of things on how to do all this. I'm not I was a chef, and so like I have a very I was very busy with food, so like all my knowledge on how to do things is based in food, and so there's a little bit of a give and take approach, especially when you're talking about, you know, caterings or custom orders. So you gotta, so just like this, it would be very up to what the vision is, and then what we're trying to do. All right. Well, there we go. Looking great. Yeah. Lots of fun. That guy was so much fun. I really enjoyed that. Even though it is kind of getting tedious to do this same color scheme, it's been fun. Doing that cannon was awesome. So I get to add a couple other things to it, little new things to our color palette. So it was really cool. And just a different shape. Yet another gaunt though. So we only have, I think, 3 or 4 other variations to go on these Tyranids, and we'll have all the ones we have currently painted up, or at least for you guys to see. And I got a lot of work to do behind the scenes to get the whole army done, but it's pretty cool. A lot of fun. All right, well, let's see. I'm still feeling pretty frosty. I'll take a little bit of a stretch break. I've got a D&D game this weekend with my fam, and I've got some guys to get finished up. Well, yeah, finished up is the right word. I started a long time ago. Like this piece we were just looking at. So this one's from my son Alistair. Oh, I'm not supposed to say their names. I shouldn't say their names. Anyway, this is from my boy, and he's kind of like big Superman guy. So we gotta get in here and figure out all the rest of this stuff. We might have to grab a few colors to finish him up, but definitely get this guy done. So he's playing a Goliath here. I'm not really terribly worried about him. All my kids, I teach them very much how not to not interact with people they don't know very well, and to be skeptical. So at least I did that. I got some pretty smart kiddos. So Goliaths in D&D are like giants, and they're all kind of colored like, oh, what's that game? God of War, Kratos. So I'm gonna try to do a little bit of that, you know, blood, the stripes on their face. But we gotta get the skin finished first. So I'm gonna make, this is a really watered down Payne's gray. We're gonna use it as a wash to kind of bring everything out, as he's got a lot of muscular details and a few scars in here that are gonna look really great. And that's a lightened Payne's gray we used as our base coat It's a black primer if I remember right. So anyway, just kind of keep moving that around. Really want to fill up any of these crevices and cracks. Help us see what we're doing and start shading in those darker areas. We can do that on all his flesh. Hands, face, all of it. He's got a great face. He's like, what? And the boy plays him so honest. It's pretty epic. He's just this big, lovable guy, which is fun. Okay. The advantage of that being super thin is going to be it won't take up much space overall on our layers. Because remember, your layers are gonna, they build up very quickly, so you want to keep them as thin as you can if you're trying to layer things up. Okay. Trying to make sure you don't leave any of those bubbles behind. Brighten that up just a touch. There we go. Maybe just maybe went a little too far there. That's all right. There we go. That's what we're looking for. Trying to catch the cloak and the crevice of that muscle right there without putting too much on that bicep, or not bicep, on that shoulder muscle. I want to accentuate his bicep. That's what, anyway. Slip of the tongues. Okay. Always be mindful of what should look dark and what shouldn't look dark. Like, oh, okay, well, that area shouldn't be white. Okay, well, don't make it white. You know, get that thing to darken out. Even if it was white as a base color, it might not need to be white in the situation you're using. It's like, we're gonna try. He wants him to have like whitish pants, so I'm gonna give. Eventually, these are gonna be white, but that's not where the base is. The base is in a Naples yellow. All right. I'm going to go ahead and give this cloak another coat. This is the Alizarin crimson going on here now. And it's a much darker crimson, kind of a maroon color. And it's some sort of belt or something hanging out there. Every time I look at this model, I find new stuff on it. Now, the palette for this guy isn't listed in the doobly-doos. So far, I've been using things that were already on the palette, but some of the stuff that's in this particular model right now are not listed. But it's fun. And we still got a few people listening or watching. So I figure I'll do a little work while I'm sitting here. And I have some of the stuff I need in this palette. So I gotta finish these up anyway. I have two pieces that sit on the table that look almost complete. Like, oh, they're almost done, look. They're not, but they're not. And you're like, ah, I gotta get them done. It makes me crazy. I don't think the players actually, it makes that big of a difference to them. But to me, it's like, they're not all the way painted. I'm gonna put another layer of this Naples yellow down. Just to make sure we've got a clean coverage before we put its wash in. Whites and yellows are very interesting. Same with some oranges. You really need to layer and layer and layer and focus mostly on what your underneath color should be, and that's going to greatly influence what the end result will be. Okay, so let's do a little face work here. Get a little bonus action going on for you guys. The folks that stuck around. Alright, just a little bit of... Gonna just keep working that Payne's gray up as we go here. But just like with everything else, I really want to focus on the most raised areas. Alright, so again, you're focusing on where the light's going to come and hit it. We want some of this to stand out more than others. This guy's all beat up. One ear has like cauliflower ear, and the other ear doesn't. I don't know if that was on purpose or if that's just kind of, you know, randomly something that happened, but it's it's fun. He's got such a great face. He looks so jolly. He's just kind of like, yeah, I'm here with my big sword. It's like this smug, happy smirk. Look, I'm the biggest guy, and you know I am. Okay, again, we're just doing the same thing. Trying just to grab the very tops. Basically clean up where that wash stayed where we didn't want it. And leave it in the crevices where we did. Yeah, looking good. Okay. Make sure you get that brush clean, staying nice and moist. And here's where you got to start to really kind of read that model. Say, okay, well, as it comes down, we're going to have more shadow. Down in there, it'll be a little bit more shadow down in there. Right here on his front, gonna be pretty good. Kind of see him coming to life. That scar looks gnarly as heck. Got a good little scar on him. I think that's on there on purpose. I don't think that's a flaw. Which is cool. This company is this is Loot who does this, and they do some really neat work. Okay, come in and do these muzzles in here. Just get them smoothed out. Look the right color. Same thing with his hand. And that's the fun thing about different paint color, learning how to do different skin tones in different ways. If you just learn kind of like basically how skin tones in and of themselves work, you can use those same principles on just about any skin tone you see. Deep breaths, big strokes. Now this side should be a lot more bright than that side, just because of how he's standing. You can see how he's standing there, so your light should be coming in right here on him. So this section down here needs to be a whole lot lighter than this over here. Mm-hmm. Definitely the way we want it to look. Oh my goodness. My cats are cruising through the hallway like maniacs. That's honestly the best part about having a cat is when they get the zoomies and they start running around like crazy. Okay, and still keep your light source in mind. So part of this arm on this side is going to have pretty good light. Part of it is not. So you get like the underneath of it, you don't have quite as much light, so you don't want it as bright. There we go. Alright, same thing on this side. This helps if you have a little bit of an idea of what muscles kind of look like. But even if you don't, you can, like I said, still just kind of use the tops of all the muscles to kind of guide you. And it'll show you the way. That's the easier part about painting miniatures versus painting a real life subject is that, like, or not even real life, making it up completely out of your head. Some people can do that too. Some people can draw and paint something completely from their brain, which is pretty interesting. But they say you don't actually draw. Even if you do that, you draw a picture out of your head. You didn't really just make it up. It was somebody you'd seen somewhere or something, and your brain just chose to put that image out there for you. That's what they say. Alright, that's it. This weekend I gotta go buy some brush soap. This guy's getting out of control. I'm gonna show you guys what I mean here in just a second. I have to go get some. I have to go get some today. This poor guy keeps the bristles themselves keep separating after you kind of start using them. So you can get them to a tip like this, which is what we want them to look like. But after painting with it for a second, the bristles will start to separate. And you can see it kind of when you move it. You can see the bristles are kind of not coming together quite right. we go. All right. Nice. Okay. Anyway, so you can see kind of like that. So you see how they've separated like that? If it's doing that to you a lot, it's probably time to put some soap brush on it. I don't have any right now. I keep talking about buying it, and I haven't. So I need to, and that way we can get these brushes cleaned up properly. Or maybe I'll see if I can't find us a homemade one, and we'll get that done. Okay, well, that's about all I really feel like dealing with today. My whole hand's starting to kind of cramp on me, which is a good time to go ahead and give it a break. Did you want to come and say hi? Okay, well, come on. Buttons has come to say hello. Buttons is one of our little channel mascots, aren't you, buddy? Yep. Hi. Hi. They love to come and interfere and get attention. Gotta love to have nubbins. Anyway, thanks for coming by. I appreciate it. So those Buttons, don't you, buddy? Say goodbye. Say bye-bye. Yeah. That's annoying, isn't it? Anyway, so go vote in the poll. It's on the community tab. And if you go over to our channel page in YouTube, there'll be a community tab. And if you tap on that tab, there'll be a poll. That'll be going till whatever the end of it is at 10 o'clock. Tonight is who we paint tomorrow. We have several choices. We have Illuminosaurus. We have our U1T. The lovely Kinku Wizard, fun guy, and a fully to assemble Adeptus Sororitas model, which is cool. Anyway, all of them are awesome. I'm down to paint all of them. I mean, I own them, so obviously I'm down to paint them. So let me know by voting. And like I said, the poll, it will be open until 10 o'clock Central Time, U.S. That's where I live. Well, that's the time zone I live in anyway. I don't live all over the Central U.S. That would be a lot of moving. So anyway, come check it out. Go check out the poll. Go vote. Come check us out tomorrow to see what we're painting. And I hope you guys have a great day. I think that's all I got for you. Have a great afternoon. Bye.